On this episode of our Epic Overland Adventure, we continue our journey east along the iconic Rimrocker Trail. Join us as we tackle this bucket list trail, discover crumbling relics of the past, and push ever closer to the Great Rocky Mountains.
Good morning. Last night was certainly eventful. How was last night, Corey?
It was wet, loud.
Wet, loud. Yeah, those thunderstorms were pretty wild. But we've got a beautiful view this morning. The sun is rising right now, and we've got a clear view of the mountains. So at least hopefully no storms for the next, few hours. They seem to come pretty quick up here, but beautiful morning. And so we're going to take our time and enjoy this. And then we'll head off on our second part of the Rimrocker Trail, and it should be a good time.
Somewhat reluctantly, we broke down camp, said goodbye to our epic campsite, and got back on the Rimrocker. With a little over 100 miles of trail still in front of us, completing it today looked like a challenge. But it was one that we were excited to tackle, as we were eager to see what the Rimrocker had in store for us. Yesterday's downpour had left the trail muddy in a few places, with Christine learning about the perils of combining a muddy trail with rolled down windows. As the trail began to descend, it became a bit rougher and a bit tighter, and we found ourselves on some shelf roads hugging the edge of the ridge that we'd been following. All of this combined to make this particular section of the Rimrocker a lot of fun to drive, while offering up some incredible views of the Paradox Valley down below. After spending the first few hours of our morning driving on top of the ridge, the Rimrocker Trail makes its steep descent into the Paradox Valley below. The views here are hard to beat, and as a bonus, this section of trail offers some great views of a rock formation known as Biscuit Rock. Now down in the valley, we stopped to take a break along the Dolores River and check out the extremely helpful Rimrocker Trail signs, which not only showed us where we'd be heading next, but also shared some sage off-roading advice. One of the posted tips, and I promise I'm not making this up, was when driving in mud, do not get stuck. Pretty good advice, right? After a few short miles on pavement, the Rimrocker split off the highway, turning back into a trail. And here it follows the bottom of a very cool little canyon with some interesting rock formations on one side and Atkinson Creek on the other. Speaking of Atkinson Creek, there are 3 different points where the trail crosses the creek, offering some small water crossing opportunities. But at the time we ran the trail, we found the water levels to be very low, with very little water flowing through the creek. On the second of the creek crossings, misjudging the amount of mud on the exit of the bank, I very nearly got stuck. Thankfully though, I had just read the sign explaining that I should not get stuck, so I was prepared, and therefore did not get stuck. Cheers to you, sign. Shortly after the Atkinson Creek crossings, the Rimrocker climbs again. This steep, rocky climb was slow going, as the importance of picking a good line came into play in a few spots. Cresting the hill at the top of the climb brought more nice views, and at this point in the trail, evidence of the region's mining past was on display everywhere, with old abandoned buildings and equipment lining the trail in many places. With our curiosity piqued, we decided to stop and explore a bit, by foot and by air. It turns out that what we had stumbled across here was part of the Eurovan mining area, an area that, in the not too distant past, was littered with active underground uranium mines. With names like Joe, Sandy, Last Chance, and my personal favorite, Club Sandwich, the remnants of these mines dot the hills throughout this area. In fact, the Rimrocker Trail gets its name from the miners who worked in these hills and were known as Rimrockers. As much as we wanted to explore these mines further, with the day wearing on, we still had 70 miles to go to finish the trail. So it was time to move on. After just a few miles back on the trail, we encountered what is often considered one of the largest and potentially most dangerous obstacles along the Rimrocker, the Tabat River crossing. Typically at this spot in the river there can be between 1 to 2 feet of water flowing here, but as you can see, thanks to a severe drought at the time we ran the trail, there was nothing flowing at all. The biggest challenge here was the thick mud and deep ruts that had been carved out on both banks. But with a bit of momentum, it was no problem. With the waterless river crossing behind us, the trail became a bit smoother, allowing us to pick up the pace a bit and make some good time into the town of Nucla, where we'd make a quick gas stop before continuing on our final stretch of the Rimrocker Trail. Now heading east out of the town of Nucla, the Rimrocker climbs quickly in elevation, becoming a mostly well-graded gravel road. A welcome change that allowed us to pick up the pace and make some miles, as we still needed to finish the trail and find camp. It was at around this point that we encountered a black bear running right across the road. Of course, the camera wasn't rolling, so instead we'll show you some cows attempting to reenact the scene, and you'll just have to use your imagination. And of course, along came the seemingly obligatory afternoon downpour, which we'd become rather accustomed to at this point. Oh, and right here, this is where we had planned to camp for the night. Yeah, no thanks. So we pushed on, and an hour or so later, the town of Montrose came into view, and our trip along the Rimrocker came to an unceremonious end. All that was left to do now was find a spot to camp for the night and reflect on our day's journey.
Good evening. I thought I'd give you all an update. We are currently on the road that connects the city of Montrose to Telluride. It took us a while to find a spot to camp tonight, but the spot that we did find is absolutely gorgeous. Looks like there's a pond here. When we rolled up, there were a bunch of cows. They have since moved. This is our spot. Surrounded by all these wildflowers. We're up against some trees. I've got everything set up. The fellas are enjoying their beers. So we're going to just relax the rest of the evening. In a little bit here, I am going to be making all of us some nachos with some pulled chicken from a barbecue spot. I think it's called Spitfire in Moab, which was really good. So we got some stuff to make nachos.
After 2 days traversing the Rimrocker Trail, here we were, camped on the doorstep of the Rocky Mountains, seemingly a world away from where we had started in Moab. And as we spent the evening reflecting on the past 2 days, it was this dramatic change in landscape, more often than not featuring expansive views, that we felt makes the Rimrocker a bucket list overland trail. And even though our time on the Rimrocker had ended, our biggest challenge of this overland adventure was still in front of us, tackling some of the most rugged, high-elevation mountain passes in the Rockies. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're enjoying following along on our adventure, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on what's still to come.